Welcome to Leadership Live with Anton Gunn. It is 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. So excited to be on with you today. I got something really important that I want to talk about, and I think it's a heavy conversation. Now, when I say heavy conversation, I just want to kind of lean in a little bit. I'm going to lean my camera down because I want to lean in a little bit and to tell you that I know it's only April. I know we're only through the end of the first quarter and just starting the second quarter of the year. But I want to ask you a question. Is your team fatigued? Is your team burnt out already? Are they exhausted? Are they done with? And let me tell you why that's an important question to ask. Because if your team is burned out and exhausted at this point in the year, you can expect that you're going to have some people who are going to burn out and they're going to quit. They're going to leave your organization. They're going to move on to something else. It is bound to happen. It's like the rising of the sun or the setting of the same. It's going to happen because people do get burned out and they get exhausted. Now, here's what I want to do in this session here today is I want to talk to you about the 5 signs that you need to look for to know whether your team is fatigued. Now, I said burnout. It could be fatigue or it could be something more aggressive than that. But I want you to know there's some telltale signs that will show up if you want to know if your team is fatigued. Now, before I get into these signs, I want you to know that the outcomes of having a team in fatigue can affect everything around you. It can ultimately affect your performance as a leader because you're not any good without a great team around you. And if your team is fatigued, if they're worn out, if there's any kind of disconnection for you understanding what people might be going through, then it could affect your performance as a leader. It could cost you your bonus. It could cost you all kinds of other things. And I've been talking to a lot of executives in organizations, and they just don't understand how their team could be burned out. They really don't understand how at this point in time that, we're only 4 months into the year, why are people burned out? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. It don't take that long to get burned out, especially when you start the year with some big, bodacious, hairy, audacious goals, as they like to call them, BHAG goals, and you set some high marks and you press everybody to get to those goals. Even if they achieve them, they're going to be exhausted. I mean, I know the Olympics are coming up in a few months. You're probably seeing the commercials like I'm seeing the commercials, but just think about it like this. Even if you prepare for the Olympics, if you study, you train, you do all of the things you need to do to be prepared, and you get to that starting line to run that final heat in order for you to win a gold medal for your nation, when you take off in that race, you're going to be running full speed and you're going to run as hard as possible. And I don't care how much you train, how long you prepare, how many practices you go to. When you hit that finish line at the end of that race, you're going to be fatigued. Everybody's going to be fatigued. We all can't run forever. And so the question is, if your team can't run forever, do you know when they hit that point of fatigue? Do you know what to do about it when they hit that point of fatigue? And now I'm going to give you some things to do about it. But the first thing I want to do is I want to spend a few minutes talking to you about the 5 signs that your team might be suffering from work fatigue. 5 signs. Sign number 1 is that, do you see a decline in the quality of their work product? See, a decline in the quality of the work product is a telltale sign that people are not paying attention to the details. Like if you think about what's going on with Boeing right now and doors flying off of planes, yeah, I know Boeing doesn't maintain the planes. They just build them and they sell them to somebody and their job is to maintain it. But Boeing is getting blamed for this, right? They're getting blamed for the decline in quality in the airplanes, knowing that there's a lot of other people involved in the process. But the quality is declining overall because people are not paying attention to the details. Now, why would they not be paying attention to the details? Sometimes they don't pay attention to the details because they're tired. Remember the old Dunkin' Donuts commercial where the guy goes in to make the donuts? It's time to make the donuts. He is going through the motions. His commercial is trying to say to people, it's time to make the donuts. He's going through the motions again. When people go through the motions, they don't pay attention to the details. They don't. And that's when you start to see a decline in the quality. So I want you to ask the question, are you seeing a decline in the quality of the work product on your team? Particularly if it came from someone who's always been a high performer. Now, I will tell you that most of these 5 are the ones that you need to worry about the most for your high performers. The people who are doing the most, having the biggest impact, working the hardest, who win all of the awards, who has been employee of the month or employee of the year for the last 5 years. Are you seeing a decline in their quality? Yes or no? If you are, it could be a sign that they're fatigued from work. Sign number 2 is disengagement. Now, I know Gallup does this study every year that measures employee engagement, but nobody's really measuring employee disengagement, at least nobody but me. I've really been paying attention to what does it mean when a person disengages from the workplace? So disengagement means that when you do your virtual meeting, they always got their camera off, that you have no idea if they're actually paying attention. And chances are, if their camera's off, they're at least multitasking, which means they're not focused on the task that you need them to be focused on in the meeting. They're focused on something else that's going on. There are other signs of disengagement. People who don't respond to emails in a timely fashion. Like they may not respond today. If you send an email after 3 p.m., they're not going to respond to it until noon the next day. Not because they're not at work. It's just they have not prioritized responding to those emails, particularly if they're at a desk all day. So you need to ask the question, is my team disengaging? Am I sensing some disengagement from the people on my team? That's the question that you want to ask. If you ask that question, then chances are you might be having somebody on your team who's experiencing fatigue. That's the bottom line. Here's the third sign that your team might be suffering from work fatigue is that there's a vacuum of positivity. Now, what do I mean positivity? We all have team members and employees who, when they show up to the meeting, they're the brightest light in the room. They smile all the time. They're happy. They always got something to say. They bring joy into the room when they come. They're just a ball of positive energy. I call these people dolphins. Now, when I say dolphins, I think I've probably gone over this one time before. You got 4 types of employees. You got sharks, dolphins, urchins, and whales. I'll come back and explain them later. But dolphins are the life of the party. They're the ones who never forget to bring snacks for everybody when we're having a meeting. They're the ones who always got a good joke. They want to show you a funny video. They're the ones who always have something positive to say. And there's nothing wrong with them being positive. But if that positive person all of a sudden is not being positive anymore, maybe they just don't have anything to say. They're just showing up, participating in the meeting, and they'll ask or they'll answer when they get asked, but they're not volunteering to bring that positive energy into the room. If they're like that, then chances are they could be fatigued from work. So you need to assess whether you have a vacuum of positivity. Is there a positivity vacuum around your team and in your organization, in your culture. This could be a big thing. You might have one leader, one person who was always a catalyst, and we knew they were going to bring the heat. They were going to bring the energy. And then when they're not in the meeting, everybody wants to know, where's Bob? Man, we need Bob here for this meeting. Is Bob out sick today? What happened to Bob? Why is he not here? Or what happened to Sarah? Sarah was amazing with the energy, but she's not here. She's not bringing it in. Sarah, what's wrong? Why aren't you talking? Sarah, you don't have a good joke for us today? Sarah, you don't have a story today? Bob and Sarah, who were the positive people in the organization, might just be going through the motion because they're exhausted. That's what you need to pay attention to. Now, I mentioned Bob being sick. This is going to take me into point number 4, and that is, do you have absenteeism happening on your team? When I say absenteeism, I'm literally talking about people are out sick. And you might think they're out sick because they got bad allergies, because they got a cold, maybe they caught COVID, maybe they had some other kind of virus or something or another. Or maybe they're not sick at all. They're just sick of working. They're sick of you. They're sick of everything that you're bringing to them and dumping more on their plate. So they decide to take a sick day. I think I've shared this with you before, that I worked with a client organization some years ago where literally a person went to the doctor and got a physician's note because of how stressful her work was. The doctor prescribed for her to take 4 weeks of FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act time, which is to say that you need to take time off because you're sick or ill. And she told me that she took that FMLA not because she was really sick. She was just sick of the people on her team, how they were treating her, how much work they were dumping on her, how they made her feel ostracized and not supported. So the question is, do you have absenteeism showing up on your team, particularly from the all-stars on your team? We know there's always going to be somebody out sick. I mean, like, people get sick all the time. That's okay. But are you starting to see a frequency of your all-star leaders, the people who are at the tippy top, just not showing up to work, that they're not there? If so, you might have a fatigue problem on your team. That is the 4th sign. Now, here's the 5th sign. This is the one that seems less obvious, and it might make you think this person is working hard, but it could be a sign of work fatigue. And that is, do you have a team member or team members who like to respond to emails over the weekend? They respond to emails after hours, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. email responses, Sunday email responses, Monday email responses. When I say Monday, I'm really talking about like Monday before 9 a.m. When you get in to work in the morning, you already got stuff in your inbox. You might think, oh, they're working hard. They're being efficient. They're getting stuff done. They're got their nose to the grindstone. They might, but I don't think that's a good sign. They're working over weekends and doing after hours work. Then they don't know the boundaries, or they blurred the lines between work and life. Now, I already told you, I don't necessarily believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life harmony, because they're sometimes one and the same. But if you got somebody who is not responding during business hours, and the only time they really respond is after hours, then you might have a fatigue problem on your team. So there you have it. 5 challenges: decline in quality, disengagement amongst your team members, a vacuum around positivity. You also seeing your all-stars be absent for work, and you got people who are doing most of their work after hours. You might have a challenge in your workplace. Now, if you do have this challenge, if you think your team might be fatigued, I want to give you 5 solutions that I really think will help you to bring your team back from the state of fatigue, get them re-engaged, and get them moving forward in your organizational culture? And here's the first one, is one, to talk about the fatigue. Like you might think that there's some mysticism to this. No. The problem is in most organizations, we don't acknowledge the reality of what's going on. Like some leaders won't even acknowledge, you know what, guys, I know everybody's overworked after that first quarter. I know that everybody's exhausted. Like people just want to be seen at work, right? They want to know that you know what's going on. So if you don't know what's going on and you won't even acknowledge if you do know what's going on, that's why people will disengage. That's why they'll walk away. That's why they'll take absentee days, or they'll file Family Medical Leave Act thinking that they got to be off for 4 or 5 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. They'll do anything because we work for a leader who can't see the forest before the trees. So if you see it, say something. Like TSA. TSA tells you if you see something, say something. Well, if you see that your team is fatigued, I'm telling you, you better say something. Say something quick. Communicate about the fatigue. And particularly if it's a one-on-one situation with a person who's been a high performer, things are going well, and they're not getting it done, talk to them. Talk to them. Talk about the problem of fatigue on your team. Then the second thing you want to consider doing if you got fatigue on your team is reassess the workload. Do an evaluation and say, you know what, do I have too much on this person? Do I need to get them an assistant? Do I need to get them another number 2 support staff, help staff, whatever you want to call it? Or do I need to just take these 4 projects off of their plate and give them to somebody else? It's okay to reassess the workload because you might have somebody who's not fatigued at all and they're not pulling their weight. And so it's okay to reassess some stuff to them. And I know some of you leaders out there say, well, I took the work from them in the first place because they weren't getting the job done. Well, if they're not getting the job done, then you need to try to find a way to part amicably or find a way to manage them out of the organization. And maybe you can't terminate them because they've been there for 29 years and they know everybody and they know every bone is buried. Well, in that case, I would say your job is to build a culture so good that they either want to get all the way on the train or they want to get off the train. So I'm telling you, it's okay to reassess the workload and put that work on someone who needs to be doing it. That is the second thing you consider, is reassessing the workload. Now, the third thing I want you to consider is to encourage people to take a break. Now, when I say encourage people to take a break, you don't want them to sneak around and take leave or to pretend like they're sick. Encourage people to take some time off. Like you really need to say, hey, Janie, I know you have 45 days of vacation. Are you saving them up for something special? No, I just don't have time to use it. Okay, Janie, well, here's what I want you to do. You're going to use 5 days in the next month. So you pick a Friday this month, Friday this week, or Friday next week, or Friday next week, and then 2 days the following week. And we're going to get 5 days off. You're going to take some time off. And if one day is not enough, then maybe consider taking the whole week. You want to encourage your people to take breaks, take time off, slow down on the projects, do something different. That's what you want to do. That's the third thing that you want to do to combat this work fatigue. Then the fourth thing I want you to do is I want you to prioritize well-being. So I want you to say, when I say prioritize well-being, know that people's mental and emotional health, their well-being is really important. So you got to prioritize your well-being as a leader and give them the space to prioritize their well-being. Like when you don't take time off, when you don't take breaks, when you grind into the stone, you think that's a badge of honor that people are going to do what you do, and they are. So if you take a break, then they're going to think it's okay to take a break, unless you're the kind of bad boss that says, I get to take time off and you don't. No, don't do that, player. You give them a chance to take whatever time matters to them and then help them to prioritize their well-being, encourage their well-being, encourage exercise, eating right, activities, if you can build them into the workplace, I mean, if you can develop a workplace well-being program that you can implement in person and virtually, then do it because people need it. Now, here's the last thing you should do if you are having a struggle with workplace fatigue. If you want to combat the decline in quality, the disengagement, the positivity vacuum, if you want to deal with the absenteeism and the after hours work, this one tool, one idea, this one suggestion I'm going to give you could be monumental in addressing the fatigue that your team might have at work. Are you ready for it? Are you listening in? I want you to write this one down. I want you to throw a party for your people. You heard me right. I literally want you to hire a DJ, hire a band, cater some food, book a venue, and throw a party for your people. A party with a purpose. What is the purpose? The purpose is to show your people you appreciate them, to reduce their fatigue, engage with them at the highest level, and let them have a good time. Let them let their hair down. When I mean a party, I ain't talking about no sterile party either, where nobody wants to dance. I'm talking about you need to hire DJFrosty.com, DJ Kid Capri, DJ Kingpin, Villain of Vinyl. I can name you a bunch of DJs because I love hip hop and I love good DJs. You need to hire a DJ and throw your people a party. DJ Do It is another great DJ. J Period is another great DJ. Now, some of these you might not be able to afford. DJ Cassidy, who has taken over the world. I didn't even know who DJ Cassidy was before he was doing Pass the Mic during the pandemic. I ain't never heard of this dude. But now he's doing a residency in Vegas that I think I might try to go see one of the shows this summer because he got some of my favorites with him in concert. But I'm telling you, throw your team a party, hire a DJ, cater some food, make sure it's a good time. Make sure everybody enjoys themselves. Don't let people get away. That is how you are going to combat work fatigue. So I hope this has made some sense to you and added some value to you this Wednesday morning. I want you to know that I'm also suffering from some work fatigue. I'm tired. And that's why as soon as I hang this up, I'm headed to the airport to catch a flight to take a few days off because boy, do I need it. I'm tired. So if you want to keep up with my journey of how I'm enjoying a few days off, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Anton J. Gunn, at Anton J. Gunn on Instagram. It's going to be on my stories. I'm not going to put it on my page. It's just going to be on my stories, sharing a few details of what I'm going to be doing over the next few days, trying to take a little bit of time off to refresh, reevaluate, recuperate, renew, so that I can hit the rest of this second quarter hard. And then I'll be looking to take some more time off in June, really July. And then I'll take some more time off in September. And then, of course, I'm going to take some time off at the end of the year. That's right, quarterly, as hard as I'm going, as hard as my team going, I want people to take some time off. So there you have it. I hope you got some value out of this. Please feel free to share this with someone who can benefit from it. And if you would love to have me come and speak at your organization to add this kind of value to your leaders as they lead teams to help you to figure out a strategy, make sure you go to antongunn.com, go to the contact page, and get in touch with us because we'd be happy to help your organization. I want to thank you for watching. Have a fantastic